Ready.
All right, good morning, scholars. Okay, so we are going to start the ISO project. So this is your first time ever touching an SLR camera. And first time we'll be in Photoshop. So this will be a whole new experience for you. Anyone have experience using any of those two things?
Cadence and Photoshop.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to be using a Canon T3. It is a little bit of an older camera, which is kind of cool in the sense that it just goes to show that it's as much about your skill with the camera as it is the gear, right? So the first thing we're going to do is you'll notice that this is called a butt plate and it goes onto the tripod. We're going to go over what that looks like, how to attach that. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna insert our SD card. So by opening up the battery compartment lid here, we can see our battery and we'll see a tiny little slot there, okay? So when we input our SD card, right, we wanna do it, so if we're looking at the back of the camera, we wanna do it with a label up, right? And we're gonna push it in with our fingernail and you'll actually hear just a tiny little click. And then we're gonna close the lid here, okay? Since this is the first time you've ever used an SLR camera, I recommend that you format the card. So what happens when you format the card is you actually erase everything off of the card and you're making it more compatible to work with the device, okay? So to do that, we're gonna push the menu button. Actually, you know what? We're gonna hold off on that. I'm gonna show you on the big screen here, okay? How to do that. All right, so let's go over attaching. So you always wanna take the camera off of the tripod to insert your SD card, okay? So we're gonna attach the camera to the tripod here. This is a Manfrotto tripod, and you'll notice on the tripod here that we have some teeth, right? And on the bottom of the camera, where we have the butt plate, we also have some teeth. Those teeth are like a mouth, they go together. And when you go to rock it in, so you kind of line up the teeth, and then you're gonna rock it in, but it's not going. I wonder why it's not going. It's because this piece right here is closed. We have to open that. So on top of the tripod, you'll notice that there's a little button right here. If you can't see that button, that means that the camera will not be attached properly, okay? So when we lock it in, you're gonna hear a snap, okay? And you always wanna make sure that the camera is attached securely to the camera before you kind of let go of it, right? We don't want the camera to take the tumble. All right, so I'm going to actually do what's called tethering in, so you guys can see what's happening on the camera on the big screen here. All right, here we go. And wait for it. Oh, we're on the wrong channel. Let's fix that. TV, gotta find that. Here we go. We are in HDMI 1. Technically, hold this 1 second, folks.
There we go.
I'll go down. Okay. Okay, so we can now see what's happening through the lens here. So if you can't see the screen, you probably want to move to a part where you can see the screen. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to format the card like I just kind of spoke of. So it's fine, it's fine. So when I put menu here, it'll pop back up there. So remove the lens cap, we're going to put it on the table here. And we have our screen in front of us. And if we go to that first gear, the first yellow one, and we go down to our third option, which is format, we just erased everything off the card and made it more compatible to work together. All right, so in front of you, you kind of have a list of things you're supposed to do. So what's the first thing it says?
Open up blank CC 2019.
So no, above that, so at the very top.
Oh, okay. For this project, you will take a series of 7 images affecting the ISO in your images. Choose a subject issue.
Okay, so I've chosen a camera. You can bring in your own thing, right? If you're into baseball, bring in football, baseball, whatever. We also have some props and some other things around the room that you can use as a subject. But you need to choose a subject, okay? What's next? Abel, what's next? After choosing a subject.
Set the camera mode to manual mode.
Okay, so right now you're taking your nomenclature quiz right now, and you have your mode dial at the top of the camera here, right? We're gonna set that to manual so we can actually see that. Let's see here. Go to menu. So as we turn the mode dial, it'll actually tell us what mode that we are in. Let's see here. But at the top of here, we want to go to the one that says M. All right. There we go. Okay, so what's next? Give me what's next.
After manual. It's
So after manual,
set.
Set the F stop to F/5.6.
right? Okay, so we turn around here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, as we look at the back of the camera here, we push display. Here we go. Come on. There we go. All right, so we have some numbers up here. So we see the manual right there. We want to set the f-stop to 5.6. Okay, so I'm going to set this up for you. But if you come up here, you need to verify that the settings are correct. So once they're set for everybody in the room. All right, so by pushing the AV button on the back of the camera, I'm able to toggle between my shutter speed and my aperture. So what did our aperture need to be?
5.6.
F5.6. So are we at F5.6?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, and what's our shutter speed?
1/60th.
1/60th of a second. So are we there?
Yes.
So the way we adjust that is we turn the main dial, which is on your quiz, right? So, and the same thing for the aperture. So I'm holding down the button and I'm turning the main dial, and I can now adjust the aperture. And aperture, we'll get to that on our next project. Okay, so we have our shutter speed, our aperture, and we have, what's this other number here? ISO. This is the whole point of the project, right? So what's my next step? What's my next step? After we set the shutter speed and the aperture?
Manually focus the camera.
Manually focus the camera. So you'll notice that the camera's in manual mode. The lens is also set to manual, so it's going to automatically adjust for us. Now, if we go to live view mode, it's going to be a little bit dark. So I'm just going to kick up my ISO for just a second here, so we can actually see what we are composing. So I'm just going to kick it all the way up. I'll go back into live view mode. So you're just going to go into live view mode just like this, okay? And we're going to compose our shot. So we're going to bring it down a little bit. Looks like we're a little sideways. There we go. Zoom in so it's on the camera. There we go. Very nice. And then once you kind of get everything all the way you want, you lock it down. There we go. Okay. And now we need to compose or get our image in focus. Now, on the camera, if you want to come a little closer. This back part here is how you zoom in and out, right? So once you get it composed the way you want it, this front part here is how you actually focus it. And we're going to actually use the zoom button here. And we want to get it to where we can read the writing on the lens. Make sure this is on manual mode. Yep, okay. We want to get this to where it's tack sharp. There we go. All right. So now that our image is in focus, we've composed our shot. It's in focus. We can now take our images, okay? So we're going to take a series of how many images?
7.
7, right. Okay, so, and what we're going to be doing is cycling through all the different ISO numbers. So on the back of your camera, you have your cross keys, and at the very top is your ISO right there. Okay, so I'm going to get out of this for just a moment. So I know it's in focus. I've composed my shot. I'm ready to take my photograph. So I can get out of live view mode now. And I'm just going to quickly run through all of those settings. So starting at, which one?
100.
Is it 100? I thought it was 6400.
It's not. 6400.
6400, right? Okay, so I take my picture, I go back to ISO, 3200, and I'm pushing down the shutter button on the front of the camera here to take my images. ISO, 1600, ISO, 800, ISO, 400, ISO, 200, ISO, 100. Okay, now let's look at our pictures really fast. So we have 7 images on here, and you'll notice as I cycle through them, they're going to get brighter because 100 is where it's least sensitive, and at 6400 it's the most sensitive. So as I go through, it should get just a little bit brighter, up until there's our 7. So of these, which one do you feel is the best lighting?
That one.
Yeah, I'd probably go with that one too. So let's see here. Let's get our information here, so I can actually push display, and it'll tell us. So this was taken at ISO.
It doesn't tell us ISO.
Let's see here. 100. 300, 400. No.
It should be
That would have
30.
been 6400. That was our first
No,
image.
that was the first one. The second one is the one they said.
Right. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, 32.
All right, 3200. There you go. All right, we'll pick this up tomorrow.
All right.